I mean, one case that we worked a cartel out of Ecuador, which is an emerging source country, for cocaine, a huge transit and source. And then we worked a Colombian cartel as well. And that merged, and we seized over 60 metric tons in about a year and a half.
60?
60 metric tons in a year and a half. Wow. We were picking up the dope from the Coast Guard. In fact, I think I sent you a picture of me sitting on, that was 27 tons. That was 27 tons. And we were killing it.
All right, gang, we're back for part 2 of this week's episode of Game of Crimes with Murph in the Morning. Our guest this week is Wes Tabor, former Hernando County, Florida sheriff's deputy, veteran of the Drug Enforcement Administration, retired. But as we left yesterday, we just finished up talking about Wes's career down in Guatemala, where he was having a freaking blast. I tell you, this is what I try to get across to people. This is why DEA is so exciting, the opportunities that are out there that are just waiting for you to take advantage of them. Wes, I hear now that, like you were talking yesterday, 75 people applied to go to Guatemala, that some of the positions now, they're lucky if they get 2. I mean, what the heck? Is this a generational gap thing? Or
back when I was on, and I'm the next phase after you, because I think you came on in the 87. So, and I came on 10 years after, swore in 97. Bob Michelotti swore me in Tampa in December of 97. So, but it was, you're going for the adventure. You're going for the excitement. You're going to be doing things that you never thought you'd be doing. And now it's kind of like, don't want to move. I won't get my mortgage percentage right. PCS is going to take money out. We didn't care about any of that stuff. We just wanted the experiences. I mean, we cared about money. Don't get me wrong, but I moved so much that I didn't stay in one place and have that equity in home over and over and over. My equity was in experiences and enriching myself by doing all these crazy things.
Well, what my wife and I did, we moved 7 or 8 times with DEA in 26 years. And we would and some of those were an extra move while you're living in a position, but we would always buy fixer-upper houses or a couple houses that had unfinished basements. I finished the basements, if you could do stuff like that, and you build your equity as you go along here. But let's get back into DEA here. So you come out of Guatemala and you got promoted coming out, right?
Yeah, I put in for a GS job in Chicago. A group supervisor job in Chicago. And so in September of 2007, I moved to Chicago, PCS. I get to Chicago. I have a task force group. There's like 5 agents and maybe 9 to 11 task force officers and intel person assigned. Actually, we had 2 intel people. And just from the get-go, we just were running and gunning, and we were just dismantling Chapo Guzman's money houses. And there was a program.
You gotta love that.
Yeah, we had one of the TFOs, one of the agents there, young guys actually, they came up with this program called Green Machine. Green Machine was one of the TFOs and one of the agents that were partners. They had gone to a search warrant and they saw this thrown away money counting machine. And they're like, it's in the garbage. It's wore out, but it doesn't look old.
And they're not cheap.
Yeah. $500, $400, whatever it is. You buy them at Sam's Club or Walmart. And so they said to themselves, where do they buy these? Let's start looking, right? So next thing you know, they call Walmart and they get the legal department and they got a guy in there that's like, I'll give you whatever you want. Just give me an admin subpoena, He goes, okay, give us a list of everyone that's bought money machines in this circle around Chicagoland. Sure.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, sure. So they were briefing me on the case. I'm like, hell yeah, do it. Get everything you want. It's their idea. Yeah, rock and roll with this thing. So they get it back. They put everything through a criminal history search, all the people, criminal history search, NATIS search, which is DEA's database. Some other intel stuff, and a few of them they ran through some other local agency database stuff. and they took a list of like 150, and they came down to a list of like 30 very suspicious kind of characters, like previous money laundering charges, previous money stops, previous this, previous that. So they're like, interesting. Let's start doing some surveillance and let's pick whoever. Johnny Jones. We're going to sit on Johnny Jones for the day and see what happens. Well, sure as heck, we're on Johnny Jones, and we see duffel bags coming into the house by multiple different cars. Everyone with duffel bags running in the house and coming out empty, getting in their car. And like the next day, duffel bags coming in. And we sit on these homes. Obviously, it's a money house, and we look for different characteristics. You know, what a money house consists of. I won't get into it too much, but we knew what to look for. And then we'd culminate it with going into the house. We do a traffic stop, whatever. We get a search warrant, whatever it is. And the first few houses we're hitting, 2 million, 3 million, 2 million, 1 million, 5. It's just off the charts. And so fast forward a year and a half, and we seized nearly $30 million in cash, right?
Wow.
In about a year and a half. 20, 30 guns. We had one story. We go to this house, and we didn't go to the front door. We went to the back. This is in Cicero. If you've been in Chicago, Cicero's a little south side suburb, rough and tumble kind of city, blue collar, really, really, really tough. And the signs are in Spanish. They're not even in English, some of the signs, you know. So we go to the back of this house, and this dude opens the door when we knock on it. It's cold night. I mean, Chicago cold with the wind blowing, dark. And this guy, he sees me, and he goes,
"What's the gringo doing here?"
Silver teeth, Pito belt, the whole thing, like northern Mexico, right? Like I've been in Mexico a lot, pretty much lived there almost, right? And I'm seeing this guy, and I'm like, the first thing I tell him in Spanish is like, "¿Tienes armas en la casa?" And he's like, "Sí."
No se mueve.
I go, we had other evidence. We were doing a knock and talk. We wanted to do consensual. We had enough to go into the house, but we wanted to try to do a consensual. When he told me he had guns and the way he was looking at me, I was like, yeah, I'm not playing this. I grabbed him, spun around, handcuffed him, grabbed him. We drag him in the house. A pit bull comes. I kick the pit bull because it's like, you know, pit bull, it's vicious, right? He takes off running. He doesn't even come back out. He goes in the bedroom under the thankfully, we didn't have to shoot the dog, right? AK-47 by the front door. There was supposed to be in the minivan in the garage supposed to be 300 kilos, and the trap was a flat trap in the bottom of. And you get in the car, you hit the brake, the left blinker, 101.5 on the radio, and you hit start button on the tape deck, and all of a sudden the thing, you know, pops up.
That's outrageous, isn't it?
Yeah. And no dope. So we're like, jeez, we missed the dope. So we're still. I think we found like 4 or 5 kilos or something, but it wasn't 300 or 400, you know, kilos we wanted. So that was a bummer for us. Some guys are like 4 or 5 kilos, I'll take that. But for us, you know, we were turning down tractor trailer loads with 2,000 pounds of weed. Like, yeah. A haul for us, you know, 70, 80 kilos was like, okay. It wasn't. We were just. It's top level stuff, right? With the Margarito Flores, the Flores twins, and all their links directly to Chapo Guzman. This is who we're working, this crew, right? So we're dealing with Chapo Guzman's guys, his organization directly in Chicago, and we are ripping the money. I mean, ripping tens of millions of dollars from them, and we're just killing them, right? Well, in Chicago, prosecutions are tough. It's just, you could have the best case in the world. They'd be like, yeah, no. Not really. It's not like SDNY. Hell yeah, we'll take it. You got any bacon on it? Yeah, okay. You know, yeah, it's a ham sandwich. You know, yeah, you got any mayo? No, we don't care. We'll eat it anyway. Bring it up, right? Yeah, not in Chicago. Absolutely. Chicago was like, we had a clean stop. We have a gun. We have a dead body in the back seat. We got witnesses, and like, yeah, nah, we can't do that. It was frustrating as hell. So we're in this house wrapping up the 5 kilos or whatever. We're going to come out with this guy, and we're talking to the prosecutor, and a truck pulls up in the back, and they have the detached garages in the back, and the wind is blowing it's blowing sideways, right? and it's like 4 degrees out, whatever. And these guys are like yelling at us because we all had hoodies. It was cold as hell. They couldn't see who we were. And they're like, hey, you lazy bastard, Spanish, you better hurry up and whatever. And we're like, I'm the only one to speak Spanish in the group. No one else speaks Spanish. So I was like, I didn't want to hear my accent, right? Even though I speak Spanish, I have a really bad accent. I'm like the Viking Spanish speaker, right? Like, so I'm going to break you, Te voy a romper. It's like, So
well, when I speak Spanish, it's hola, y'all.
Exactly. Guachale. Yeah. Yep. Right. So these guys are back there. We approach the car. They got guns in the car. We get them out. We handcuff them. We're detaining them. We're going to arrest them. And we call the AUSA, and they're like, yeah, we know it's a gun, but they pulled up. Did you really have a good stop on them? How'd you? I was like, man, you got to be kidding me, right? So we had them at one of the local PDs, right? We wanted to try to cooperate. These guys they're extremely high-level guys, right? They're not going to cooperate, but we're going to try. And when they said we're not prosecuting them, we're like, all right, you're free to go, guys. And they're like, no. Put us in jail. We want to go to jail. We don't want to be out. And we're like, sorry, brother. We can't hold you. We're not going to take you state because we had discovery issues and some things down the road. Potentially, we just didn't want to mix what we were doing. Anyway, we're cutting you loose. And they were like, God, do not cut us loose. Put it, because they know it's going to look suspicious, right? Yeah. So nothing. What can I do? What am I going to do, dude? You want to cooperate? We'll put you in protective custody. No, we're not cooperating. Well, we want to go to jail. We'll give you a receipt for the dope we took out of the house, right? We've done that with money before. Give them a DEA 12, a receipt. Unspecified 5 suitcases full of multiple denomination currency U.S. dollars, right? And yep. And they cling to that thing because they show it to we got popped, but and they still get whacked sometimes. Well, so fast forward, these guys, they leave with a receipt and they're like, and then 2 days later, the TFO that started with the other agent, the young agent, this whole green machine, he goes, dude, check this out. And he pulls up on his computer table with an arm, a leg, a torso, a head, all had been chopped off with a chainsaw. They had grabbed that guy and him and the other guy, tortured them. And of course they hadn't cooperated, but they weren't in jail. And then they shot him and then chopped them up, put them in bags, dropped them by that house that we seized the dope in. So, and to realize that these organizations are that brutal, and they're not just doing this overseas, they're doing it in our streets. They had flown in 2 sicarios, 2 killers, who grabbed this guy, tortured him and killed him, and then they fly back to Mexico. This happens every day in the country, still to this day, right?
Those guys, the Flores brothers, actually know Margarito. I think a whole lot of him.
Well, interestingly enough, so we were working a part of that case is because it's so huge. I mean, Chicagoland, you had the Flores twins, and then we were working as well, which was a lot of money. I remember it was Larino's division in Chicago. They were working, and they grabbed them and cooperated Margarito, right? And I didn't know what was going on, but we're on the whatever floor it is in the DEA building in Chicago, and I hear like this Mexican music, like banda, and boom, 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 and I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I walk around the corner, and there's like 4 agents outside of the room, the holding cell area where we did the fingerprinting and booking, and there's just standing there, and they go, hey, boss, what's up? I said, what's going on in there? They're like, well, we got the Flores twins. I said, what? I said, well, I got to do. I got to go in here. I got to get whatever. They're like, okay. So I open the door. They have a radio with the banda. Tacos, like totopos, tacos, refresco, like everything. They're having like, the family's all there. They're all like having a little party. And I was like, I look at the agents like, who the frick cleared this? did you guys shake everyone down? I mean, the food, did you x-ray? I mean, I'm sure they did, right? But it was like, I don't want to say it was a party. They were allowing visitation to the family. I was like, did the USA's clear this? I mean, it was just a very strange scene to have like 8 or 9 people, kids, the wife, the in-laws, the this, the that, the father, the mother, like whatever it was. I don't know who they were. And I'm like, in our holding area. And we couldn't bring our people in there because they were there. And how long were they keeping them in the holding? Anyway, they did cooperate, you know the whole story with Margarita Flores. Yeah. I left the room just like going, whatever. And the agents were just kind of looking down like this, like us. We know it looks bad, but yeah. Anyway, because he was obviously going to cooperate, and they were working with his lawyer but it was kind of a shocker to see that.
Yeah, things that go on. Yeah, strange things.
Yes. So we just continued to rip these stash houses, and one of the most poignant things I remember from all that money we were seizing was this one agent we were following this guy at a money house, and we suspected they're going to have $2 or $3 million in this money house. Well, we followed one guy out to a remote area south of Chicago, way south, like it was probably 40 minutes south, and toward Naperville. And so, which is a very nice suburb, right? And then we go down this little asphalt road to this big garage. It's like a huge, like semi-truck garage with like 7 or 8 bays or whatever it is. And there are probably 15 or 16, something like that, 17 of these guys, all Mexican guys, fabricating traps. Like, I got binoculars. I'm looking. I had a guy with me, a task force guy. And I'm looking, and they're fabricating traps in these trucks, trailers, the whole thing. That's how big the cases were in Chicago. So now we got the money homes. We're identifying all these multiple homes. We got the florists that are working directly for Chapo, communicating directly to Chapo. Now we have all the trap operation and transport operation, right? And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. The TFO that was with me, he was pissed. And I'm like, why? I actually asked him, like, well, dude, what's wrong with you? He's like, money house. I should be at the money house. The money house. He was so mad he wasn't at the money house. I'm like, dude, who cares? We've been ripping money for months, a year, whatever, year and a half. 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million. Like, who cares? I don't care. This kind of interested me because now we're hitting a trap operation. How many people get to hit a real big trap operation in your career, right? Like a real one, not with one dude in a garage, but a commercial trap operation where they're putting him in semi-trucks and trailers, and you got 17 guys working full-time, 18 hours a day building traps. I mean, it's very rare. This is the only time I've seen it, and I did a lot in my career, like you as well. How many trap operations of that size have you really been a part of? It's rare. So I was like, this is freaking cool, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we're sitting next to each other far away waiting for some more backup because we were going to go hit this and then inventory all the traps, the trucks, everything. Well, it comes over the radio, they're going to hit this money house. The guy, he's a little freaky. He's seeing things. So they stopped the car. He had $2 million in a trap in the car. And I think he had another 2 million or 1.7 or something in the house, whatever. And he takes his radio and throws it and swears. He's like, I'm going to the money house. I'm like, he's a TFO. He really doesn't work for me. Sometimes guys will show up on cases, right? Big cases. Yeah. So he takes off and leaves me alone. Now, a few minutes later, some people come, but I'm like, you son of a bitch. I was so pissed. So I told my ASAC, Scott Ando. I don't know if you know Scott.
Very well. So
Scott was my ASAC, and I'm like, this asshole left me there, and something's up with him. I don't know, something. I just don't like what I'm feeling with this guy. Well, fast forward like 6 months, he's on a traffic stop with a money stop, and a trooper sees him putting money in his pants.
Oh.
Trooper snatches him, handcuffs him, and arrests him on the spot for stealing the money.
Excellent. We have a saying here on Game of Crimes: nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop.
Yeah, and I told Scott like that next day or whatever, a couple of days later, where I said, I told you that guy was something was up with that guy, and I had a few run-ins with potentially, I couldn't really put my finger on it, but in fact, I had a TFO. I won't say who the TFO was. That two TFOs actually. Something came about where it smelled funny, like something wasn't right. And I brought them across the street from the federal building to a coffee shop. And I told them, I said, let me tell you something. If I ever catch you doing anything where you're planning to do something nefarious, I said, I will arrest you myself.
Yep.
They knew it and they hated me. And I was like, to this day, you didn't like me? Okay. I don't care. You didn't like me? There's a reason why you didn't like me. And it wasn't just because I was an asshole, because I wasn't an asshole. I mean, I could be. Everyone can be. But in this case, this was, I want to make sure it was very clear. This is big city police work. And you've been around enough to know, and cops know, you get that sixth sense and you feel it. We had a case one time, Steve. I show up at a money house. It was like 2.7 or 2.5 or something in the basement. And I arrive and there's a cop up top. One cop up top on the first floor. And I'm like, where is everyone? They're like, they're downstairs. What are they doing downstairs? There's like 8 or 9 guys downstairs. And he said, they're downstairs. That's what he did, just like that. And I'm like, why aren't you downstairs? Senior guy. I wouldn't go down there if I were you.
Let's go.
Exactly. Right? I was like, get out of my way. I open the door. I go down the stairs. As I'm coming down the stairs, I got, there was no agent. They were all cops. I had some agents that were on surveillance that were arriving. You know how it goes sometimes. You just have a hodgepodge of cops or whatever. And so I go downstairs, and the one cop turns to me. He puts his hand by his gun, and he looks at me as I'm coming down the steps. Like, it could be interpreted two ways. Like, he hears someone coming down the steps fast. He's like, who is this? But it wasn't that. It was, he's like, this guy. I saw a look on his face like, this guy's taking my payday. That's how I felt, right? And they're all standing in a circle around the money. And I'm like, how long have they been standing here? I was like, what are you guys doing? Give me the freaking bags now. Because we just put them in the self-seal evidence bags with the serial numbers. We have Brinks count it later. Give me the bags right now. I want the bags. Get your asses away from this money. And a couple of them were pissed. A couple of them looked scared. Like maybe they had been, I don't know. I can only have suppose, right? Like, but I knew.
Yeah.
Something smelled bad. Yep. Right. And so I didn't have enough to say something was bad, but I felt it. And cops go through this a lot throughout their careers. You might have a situation where you're like, something's weird. I don't like something, but you don't have an offense. Not even close. If you're
going to be a good guy, be a good guy.
Yeah, I'm not here to enrich myself. I'm not here to take something that's not mine. I don't even, my brother, he had told me, he's like, I don't know how you look at all this money, dude. Don't you want to take some of it? And I'm like, my brother, he's like my younger brother. Like, he's a retired military guy. He's like, dude, I'd be tempted no one's going to miss 30 grand. He's right. Because we had millions of dollars. Millions. And I had gone through a divorce, was paying child support. I was destitute, Steve. I mean, I was putting change together to get hot dogs at Dairy Queen. I was so broke.
Yeah.
I lost my ass in my divorce, and I was paying a lot in child support. I was broke. But I can truly say I never, ever thought, even like one moment of time, like I could take $400. I could take $1,000. For me, I told my brother, I said, dude, it's just evidence. Yeah. It's just evidence.
We get asked that question a lot too, especially when we're traveling around, Javier and I are speaking, and they'll want to say, what's the largest amount of money you've ever seen? And then the follow-up question is always, was you never tempted? No.
Yeah.
That's if you do, then you need to go get a different job or you're going to go to prison.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it.
It's not worth it. And I always was like, I can't live with myself, betraying my family, my country. And how can you live with yourself? I couldn't do that. You know what I mean? And so anyway, I made it clear to everyone, anywhere I went, like, not that I had to show up on scenes and say it, but I mean, when I had any kind of situations that arose that created the need, they knew where I stood. Everyone always knew where I stood. And if someone didn't like me for whatever reason, because they thought I was a goody two shoes or whatever it was, I could care. I don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't care. And a learning curve, being a brand new GS, a brand new supervisor, it's just, man, I was making mistake after mistake, learning, how do I do this? What do I do here? I mean, you're learning how to do this. And when you're working in a big city environment, New York, Chicago, Miami, it's even bigger. In Chicago, they say, don't go to Chicago if you're not from Chicago. I don't know. Have you ever heard that before?
I never wanted to go to Chicago, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Don't go to Chicago if you're not from Chicago. They used to say that, you're not a Chicago guy, don't go to Chicago. Well, my kids were in Chicago. That's why I went to Chicago. So I'm dealing with all this personal stuff. Yeah. Then how do I become a good supervisor, not knowing even where the streets are in a huge city, trying to adapt to everything, going through where my kids and finances. I had a lot on my plate, but my boss, and this is going back to the leadership and the capabilities of DEA, Scott Ando was my ASAC, and the guy saved me. I mean, he saved me. He took the time to mentor me, to help me. It wasn't just the job. He had been through a divorce himself. He knew, and he was just that guy that kind of bridged that until I kind of got my feet on the ground a little bit better. Than I ended up transferring. I put in for a position to go to Caracas, and Scott actually helped me get that job. He was my rabbi getting to.
Scott's a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
So why did you want to go to Caracas?
So I remember Loreno talking about Caracas. I remember Loreno say they caught some guy breaking into one of the agents' houses, and the cops grabbed him. And they show up, and Loreno's kid starts kicking the guy. He's handcuffed on the ground, and Loreno's kid starts kicking him. He's telling me Caracas was great. The cops are great, everyone's great, but it all changed since he had left. He was telling me the funny stories about his son kicking this guy, like, you break in this house, you piece of garbage. Loreno's like, good job, son. And so I remembered the different stories about Venezuela. Yeah. And then I started seeing in the news, obviously, George W., when he was at the podium at the UN, and then Chavez came, he said, smells like sulfur. Do you remember these? Do you remember this with the speech and all that? And Chavez was basically taking the country for himself under the guise of socialism, which we all know socialism, especially in our hemisphere, has never had a successful run. It always
turns a dictatorship. That's all it is.
Cuba and Nicaragua and Venezuela. Yeah. So it was cowboys and Indians there, and I was like, man, there's so much to do there. The targets are huge. The FARC is operating. The Cali cartel remnants fled to Venezuela, hiding from the Colombians. They're in Venezuela, hiding. I can go after those targets, which I eventually did. And I can go after all the dope loads that are being flown out on aircraft by the tens and tens of tons, hundreds of tons to the U.S., right? Maritime, air, everything. And so what I didn't realize at the time was how often I was going to be alone in country doing things all by myself. And so, which was kind of addicting in a sense, because it was like, you're just out there and you've been there before. I know you have. And there's no one going to save you. And you can't shoot your way out of it. You can't. There are times when I'm like, okay, there's 4 or 5 guys. Can I kill them? Can I do this? Can I do that? I had plans in my head how I'm getting out. I'm going to take a boat. I'm going to do this. I planned everything, but you have to rely on yourself to kind of be smooth to get through it all. And a little bit of, I don't want to say luck, but in a sense, like the gods are going to either take care of you or not in some of the situations that I found myself in. But when I landed there in Caracas, we had an agent. He was there a little bit longer than he shipped out, and he brought me around, showed me some stuff. I started looking. I went to the Sambil Mall in Caracas, which is this huge, like 1,000,000 square foot, has a train going through the basement of it, a huge train depot. It's got like eight levels, a huge rotunda. It looks almost like embassy suites, where the center is all hollow and all the floors go up. Yep. And I remember it was a Saturday morning, and I wanted to go get a coffee and go check out the Sambil Mall, because I'm thinking I'm like in a Latin American country that's going to be cool, right? Well, it was not cool. So I get to the mall, come to find out people get kidnapped and carjacked there all the time, because they wait for people to go to the garage and they jack them and kill them and whatever. Jeez. So I was pretty adept. I already lived in Guatemala. I had traveled throughout Central America, very dangerous places, had a lot of close calls on the borders with Guatemala and El Salvador, and people going to rob me, cops going to grab me, and all kinds of situations. So you get pretty good at kind of recognizing stuff. But I had my Irish cloverleaf shirt on, Notre Dame.
I remember reading this in the book.
I walk through this mall, and all I hear is a ruckus. Now, this is Ghana versus the United States, the World Cup 2010. And I'm like, what are they saying? And all their chanting is like basically down with America, Yankee go home. And they're cheering for Ghana and not for the U.S. And it's like this visceral hate. It's like when you ever watch that movie Argo, where, they're, that's kind of what it felt like. And I'm like, Jesus, this is a Western Hemisphere country. Like, we have chevrons down here, what the hell's going on? I was like, get me out of here. Before they recognized that I'm a gringo, I jumped into a shop and bought I don't know if it was a Boca River or something, soccer jersey, put it on in the store, paid them, and walked out and got the hell out of there. I'm like, I'm going to be lynched. They're going to lynch me here. Seriously. I mean, I could see them doing some crazy like that. And I was like, this ain't happening. And I learned a valuable lesson that day. Like, don't assume, wherever you're going is going to be like where you came from, other Latin American countries and so forth. And I would go into places and I'd walk in and they'd be like, fuera, 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 Yankee. Like, they kick me out for being an American.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Like restaurants or?
Restaurants, shops, stores. Oh, yeah.
No kidding.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And almost immediately, I saw that I was being followed. Technical surveillance on me, multiple levels of that. But I was like, you know what? I have a list of people I want to get in front of. Many of them generals. Part of what people are starting to understand, and it's coming out in the news, Cartel de los Soles. The generals in Venezuela have little suns on their lapel, right? Where American generals have stars. They have suns. So soles, the suns. So I was meeting with various, I won't get into the names too much. My book that's coming out next summer will have many of these things in it. By then, some things will be finalized judicially, I think. But I was meeting with high-level generals that were very close to Hugo Chavez. I mean, the top-level guys, right? And some of them would allow you to pass intel. Some of them wouldn't. I remember I had this information on a border mission opportunity to seize like 20 tons of coke. 20 tons. Wow. Roughly, maybe 17 to 22 tons, whatever. Coming, for people that don't know, when the FARC, one of the biggest trafficking organizations in the world, right? When they moved the cocaine from the labs, they used the geography of the land, the topography with the rivers and the currents and all these things to move the dope in barges and all this stuff to different locations where they transit it to Venezuela, right? Or to LPVs or SSPSs or whatever it might be, like vessels, like low-profile vessels, or they call them subs, and for the Pacific or whatever, okay? So they use the geography to help them so they don't have to manually move it in a truck. And they're very good at this. They've been doing it a long, long time. And so we had a border mission between Venezuela and Colombia, and we sent, it was like 35 guys out there. And I was working with a couple of generals at the highest level. They're both indicted now, actually. Shocker. And and the helos went out there and they were downed. Killed all the guys. Killed them all, man. I felt bad, man. I still, to this day, I was thinking about the other day. And it was like 35 guys died. And of course they said it was weather. It wasn't weather. They were shot down by the FARC. So, and these guys, in a sense, they were kind of killed not only by the FARC, but they were probably somewhere along the line betrayed by their own government because, as we all know now, and we knew back then, but even more so now, it's much more public. You can Google all this stuff. Everything I'm talking about, you can pretty much Google, with the exception of little vignettes I might share some information, but nothing that's in judicial process, right? Chavez, his idea of the socialistic movement to create this spread like Fidel Castro thought he could do, which had never left the island in a sense to the magnitude that he wanted it to, other than, with the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, and then you have Cuba, and then you have, and what they tried to do in Argentina, but failed, and now it's democratic. Chile, Pinochet, you have all these things that didn't really they lasted years, but it didn't take over completely and fully. The population came back and took it. But with Chavez, he said, I can come in, I can make this happen, right? But I have to get rid of the Imperio, the Yankee. We have to get rid of the United States. So how can we do that? We're going to flood them with cocaine, heroin, and we are going to make tons of money doing it, and we're going to degrade the fabric of the United States of America to the point where we will be on top. We will. That was in his mind, that's what he thought he was going to do, right? Didn't really work that way. Ended up dying from cancer in 2011. But the country has lost its democratic fervor. It's basically a dictatorship with Nicolas Maduro. But so my job was go down there. Who's hiding there? Identify the different players in the government, get as much intel, get as many people as I possibly can on Team USA, and bring that to the States over and over and over. And that didn't matter if it was DEA or HSI. Bonnie Clapper, you know Bonnie Clapper?
I don't think so.
She was AUSA Eastern District, New York. Bonnie worked a lot with HSI. I was capturing for her targets for HSI. And I didn't care who it was. I was helping everyone, right? HBT ops on CPOT targets. I think we got 4 CPOTs while I was there in just 2 years.
So high value targets, and just quickly, what is a CPOT? So
consolidated priority target. It's like a kingpin, right? It's the biggest of the biggest. It has to be nominated, it has to be accepted. You have to justify it. It has to be, all processed and designated, right? So, and we got 4 of them. And then I got a cop killer. I got a bunch of other like RPOTs or regional targets that are a little bit less than the CPOT or the kingpin, a level down, but still very big. I mean, we're talking about people that are responsible for maybe instead of 60, 70, 80 tons, they might be responsible for 10. I mean, the numbers we're talking about are massive. Yeah. Massive amounts. The money, the wealth, the money laundering. But it was much more than that, Steve. So it's much more than just drugs. Venezuela, with a guy named Tarek El-Assaimi, which is he's in prison right now for treason and a bunch of other stuff, which is probably a charade. They're probably just harboring him so he can't come to Bingolandia, to the United States, to testify, right? Yeah. Now, this name, you might say, I don't even know who Tarek El-Assaimi is. Well, President Trump, with Pam Bondi, put his name in the document when they designated the Cartel de los Soles. It's one of the first times you've heard the FBI is taking over the case from DEA, by the way. Why, I don't know. But Tarek's name is in that TCO document. So the designation of the terrorist organization, the Cartel de las Solas, has Tarek's name in there. And it's listed when you talk about not only the Cartel de las Solas, but in reference to the gangs with Tren de Aragua. Now, I had been in Central America working gangs. MS-13 created a database in Guatemala because I saw how they were transiting back and forth from the U.S. to Central America, and no one knew who the hell they were. So I said, well, I can go to the local cops. I would go to these little towns. Who is this? And they'd say, oh, that's Chewy. And they'd give me his information. Then they'd link me up with the prison people and the Departamento de Justicia. And then they would give me their information, their fingerprints. And all that information we collated and turned into a database. And we wanted to expand that through all Central America. And the FBI took it and turned it into their gang database. I think they called it at that time CAFE, Central America Fingerprint something. So that's where I started working gangs. Not that I'm an expert on gangs, not like I'm the guru on gangs. It interested me because I saw what they were doing and how they were spreading. So when Tren de Aragua, when I was in Venezuela, they were more of a nuisance for the Americans back then. You have what's called the colectivos. The colectivos are kind of like local dirtbags that all collect themselves and fight for a cause, whatever that might be. It might be like the Antifa guys, like their version of the Antifa, right? Like that show up in black and they think they're ninjas, right? And then they get their ass kicked by some, 15-year-old kid, right? Because they're used to playing video games. They're not on the streets doing what they need to do. Right. Well, Tren de Aragua, which is a powerful gang, began back in the early 2000s. It didn't begin in the prison. It actually began in the state of Aragua when they had the socialist movement of Chavez. He was dumping money into all these infrastructure projects to further the socialistic revolution, create jobs, opportunity, and money on part of the government to the people. And they had a railway that they're putting. So train in Spanish, Tren de Aragua, of the state of Aragua. It's like New York State. Aragua is the state, right? So Tren de Aragua. And guess who was the governor of Aragua State at that time? Tarek El-Asami.
Oh.
Now, so when you start putting the pieces together, I won't get into the full gamut because I could be here like 5 hours. But when you start putting the pieces together and you see his name mentioned in the Department of Justice designation of terrorists, right, with the gangs and Tarek and all this stuff, you start saying, oh, maybe there's association, right? Like, it's probably there, right? So a little foreshadowing on that part. And the fact that they kind of removed it from DEA and put it with the FBI puzzled me. I didn't like that at all. But the FBI they have the reins now. Hopefully there's a collaboration between HSI, DEA, Treasury, whatever, and everyone. They have a task force on it because we haven't seen the last of them. But getting back into the Venezuela realm, that's the picture that's being painted, right? We have all these target sets, and I had one agent, and he was great, but his father was ill, and he was out of the country almost all the time. His father was dying, right? So I was like, listen, you got to take care of your dad. So I'm going to meetings, I'm doing surveillance, I'm doing all this stuff by myself. Over and over and over, I'm taking all these risks. I would go out. I couldn't bring my car because I was worried about surveillance, right? Technical and visual. So I'd have to dump a car. I'd have to sneak out at night. I'd have to do all this crazy stuff. Like I didn't wear a ninja suit, but I kind of felt like I was out there doing ninja work sometimes. And I would take taxis. And, it's dangerous in Latin America taking a taxi at night. People don't realize we had an agent in Bogota, Colombia, that was stabbed to death because he took a cab and he just wasn't being careful. Unfortunately, it cost him his life. These guys killed him, stabbed him to death. So I would sit there. I would be like all scruffy, a hat, dirty clothes, whatever, depending on what I'm doing, where I'm going. And I would watch the taxi. They would all line up, right? Young kids, older guys, all this stuff. I'd look for the old guy that'd be like playing crossword, no phone. If he had a phone, this is 2010, 2011, like flip phone, right? Low technology, not paying attention to what's going on, not talking to people, not texting, not doing any of that stuff, Blackberries. And I would walk up to him out cold, sneak up to him, sometimes they get a little startled, and I'd say in Spanish, "Hey, I'm from the Netherlands," or "Hey, I'm Canadian. I need to go to my buddy's house," and it was just happened to be near the U.S. Embassy, right? I'd have different addresses that would get me to close sprinting distance to the U.S. Embassy, right? So, and he'd be like, "Oh, cool." So he'd get in the car and he'd start talking. "Oh, what part of the Netherlands you're from? What part of this?" And I had a whole cover story already in my mind. I used over and over, and then I would get to the embassy and jump out and just throw like $30 at him and just walk away, right? And he'd be like, "Where are you going? We're not even there yet." I'm like, "It doesn't matter, right?" But I would. One time we're going out to catch a major trafficker. His name was Loco Barrera. I went out with a cop. I posed as his informant. I had a mask over my head to hide my gringo-ness. This is Thanksgiving Day. I think it was 2011. Might have been Thanksgiving 2010. Group chat. I had a Glock and I had a beacon, a coil beacon. Remember the old square coil beacons? You pull the top and it comes out. Do you remember the coil beacons?
Yep.
It's like ancient. It's like saying that I had an A-track.
It's like smoke signals going up.
Yeah, right? Yeah, like we didn't have GPS like we have now. So we're on the group chat and it's Thanksgiving Day. So like by midday, when I'm going out, people are 5 beers deep and turkey, getting ready to eat the turkey, and everyone kind of falls off. And I was out like 14, 15, 16 hours that day. And we were in the car and we're tracking someone coming in. And this guy I didn't tell him who the target was till the last minute. And when I told him, he starts texting. And I'm like, geez. And this guy had done a lot of stuff with him. Yeah. And he never screwed me over. So I thought but the target was too big. He compromised me. I just felt it, right? But I'm in the middle of freaking nowhere by myself. He has his 8 guys and him. And these guys, they're not just cops. They're like, these guys, they kill. That's what they do. I'm sitting there going, how am I going to get out? I know where I'm at. I already have primary, secondary, tertiary. Where am I going? Boat, steel bike, whatever. I don't care what I'm going to do. I have plans to get things done, right? So he says, "Oh, they're moving. He's moving." And I'm hearing the radio. Hey, he's not moving. He takes me up this hill away from them. And he has a machine gun between his legs, right? And I'm like, "You need to stop the car right now." In Spanish, I'm like, "You need to stop the car. Where are you going?" He goes, No, wait. I pull my gun on him. He's like, "What are you doing?" He goes for his gun. Like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" "Oh, no." And then he stops, pulls the car over. No. "Oh, my God, you got him. We'll come back." And I'm like, I know, like, this is not good. What am I going to go back to if we don't have a shoot in the car right here? Then what am I going to do? And then when we go back, who do they have? Or he's just bringing me back to whack me. And I'm like, man, how did I get myself in this spot, right? I didn't even tell the people in the chat. This is like, I don't know, 9 or 10 at night. Everyone's probably asleep at this point. It's Thanksgiving Day, right?
Passed out, yep.
Yeah, so we go back, and they have this guy on the side of the wrong guy, and they're just beating him. And I'm like, I look at this guy, I go, "What are you doing?" I had my gun on right next to me. He's like, "No, we got him. So they pick him up. He's all bloody, and they throw him against the car so his face is on the glass. And I'm in the ski mask, right? I still have the ski mask. I have multiple. I saved all the ski masks from every time I did this as a momentum. I did this like a lot, not like this per se, but kind of like this. So he goes, "He's not him?" I go, "No." I'm like, "What are you gonna do now?" And he's just like, "I'll take you back to your car. I know we won't be working together again, will we?" I said, No. I would play it off. I'm like, "Of course, it's a mistake. No big deal. No harm, no foul, right?" I'm like, "Get me out of here," because these guys are like looking at me,
If the boss gives the thumbs up, they're going to kill you.
They'll kill me. Yeah. So what they did was they took this guy. I don't know what happened to him. Hopefully they didn't kill him. Nothing I could do. I had to get myself out of there, right? So he drops me off. I get out of there. It's all good. Never worked with him again. In fact, he told another guy that I knew. He goes, yeah, you did more. I said, I don't even want to talk about this guy. So, but those were the kinds of things I was doing over and over and over. And not only that, Steve, but we were like doing, so DEA and agency, we call them the primos, right? We call CIA the primos, and DEA, we're DEA, but we always refer DEA agents, call it CIA primos, los primos. We are not intelligence per se, like people. That's not our job to collect intelligence, but we do. We collect intelligence on organizations, law enforcement intelligence. We're not doing clandestine kind of operations, right? Like they do. But we do things that can be mirrored that of what sometimes the agency might do, because the agency kind of does some things that may look like law enforcement too, prima facie wise, but realistically it's more of a collection effort, right? You can read about all this stuff online. You can watch Narcos and see it. And there's tension.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of tension. So law enforcement, we want to delve into the intelligence of the bad guys, make arrests and prosecute. They don't want to prosecute. They want to keep delving in intelligence, going deeper. It turns into a big collection cycle. Collection. We don't really care too much about. We do a little bit, but that's not our main goal. When I was in Venezuela, I'm doing dead drops, brush passes. I'm like doing all this stuff like you read about, and you can read about all this stuff online. I'm not saying anything that's classified, right? But I was doing things that were a necessity for me to avoid getting myself killed, because while I was there, I had 2 contracts on my life, and then I had another one later that was issued when I was in Los Angeles. So, wow. Yeah. So one of them that came in with 2 different sources, information came in that they wanted to kill me, independent sources. And so until things could get sorted out, I went on vacation. I actually called my ARD, Bruce Goldberg. You know Bruce? Yeah. Yeah. So I called Bruce. I said, Bruce, I need a vacation. And he's like, what's he talking about? I need a vacation. He was my ARD in Quito. He covered Caracas. And it had been in Bogota with John Gazzara. You know John, I'm sure. Yeah, we were in SOD together. Yeah. So John was my ARD initially, but then they transferred to Bruce. Bruce was the CA there, and then they made him an ARD, and then he took me in. Fantastic dude. He's always supportive. Bruce was great. John was too. So I didn't put it in a cable. State did some kind of cable, but they didn't tag DEA in it. I don't know what the deal was with that, but they didn't tag DEA in it. I was telling Bruce I just wanted a vacation. They knew if I left, I might not come back. It depends on how we write the threat, right? Threat cable. Right. I didn't want to write a threat cable. So I got my vacation. He goes, oh, okay. And next thing you know, I get numbers to go on my R&R or whatever it was, right? And I go 3 weeks to Hawaii. And, I mean, dude, I'm looking over my shoulder the whole time. Yeah. While it kind of gets sorted out. Luckily, I returned. Everything was pretty cool. We won't get into how we determine all that stuff, but everything's kind of cool. I just had to be careful, because if an opportunity exists, they'll kill me. So, and I say they, I'm not designated who. So I go back into country. And I'm like, I'm pretty stressed, right? And they had one trafficker. He's hacking into my personal computer, everything. They're really? All that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're sophisticated, wow. Man. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can watch it on a show called Drug Lords: The Takedown. It's on Hulu and Amazon. And it's the show called episode 9, I believe, is The Madman. You can also see Titan. I was in Titan as well. And it has really good background and details and actors, and you could go, so the Madman and Titan, and that's Drug Lords, The Takedown. It's a great program, and there's lots of other really good stories. There's like 9 or 10 in that season. I'm in 2 of them, but man, there's some great stories. I was hoping they'd do another season because I had like 4 or 5 other ones I was going to be in, but it got cut short. But yeah, so Venezuela was a lot of dangerous work by myself, but I have to say, and you probably experienced this too, I loved it.
Yeah. It's like once you get back to the States and you finally calm down, you come off of being in a red level, code red 24/7. You sit back and you think about things. You're like, what the hell was I thinking?
I was doing that last week. I was thinking, man, I don't know if I'd do that. In fact, when I finally came out of Venezuela, they wouldn't renew my visa. They refused. Oh, but I killed it, man. We arrested great targets, dope intel, cooperating witnesses. Man, it was very successful. And Jay was like, that was great. So that's how he offered me the headquarters spot for my 14 headquarters spot in Bogota, assigned to the agency. So that's, I was a DEA agent working in Bogota, but then doing things with different sections of the agency in the Western Hemisphere. So
and that's, we're not going to talk about that, but that was for our listeners that have been around for a while. We had Matt Addington on here, and I can never find a name when I'm looking for it on the list here, but he had done the same thing where he was detailed over to CIA for 3 years. So we'll just let it go at that. But the cool thing is that counted as your headquarters time, right? Which means you didn't have to go to DC.
I didn't have to go to DC. And I already had been language school, and I would go one more time before this whole circus was done. But for now, I was very content in Bogota and doing a lot of traveling, a lot of stuff. But yeah, great times helping out DEA, helping out agency, helping out HSI, helping out whoever I can, kind of bridging the gap, doing stuff with the SEALs, with the 7th Group on actionable stuff, Coast Guard and all that. It was a great experience, but we'll leave it at that. And then
it's just amazing the things that you can get involved with as a DEA agent and all these other agencies. You see movies made about them and they write books about Delta or SEAL Team 6 or whatever it is. And we actually got to go out and work with those guys just like you did. You talk about a humbling experience.
Yeah, it was great. And the funny thing is I was working with this one guy, SEAL Team 6 guy. He had left SEAL Team 6. He was doing TR&G stuff downrange, right, with us. And he was like, oh man, I get to work with a DEA guy. This is so awesome. I'm like, you guys in SEAL Team 6 for like 15 years. And I'm like, seriously, bro? He goes, oh, dude, I'm so excited, man. I didn't know I'd ever get to work with a DEA guy. This is so much fun. Wow. I'm like, oh. Because technically, you look at what they do, right? They do wartime stuff, right? They do HVT rescue, or they do rescue on, high-value rescuees and stuff like that. They do a variety of things, counterterrorism. But to do, like, law enforcement mission kind of related work, it's probably a little bit more niche for them, I'm guessing, right? Unless they're destroying maybe some labs or something in the Middle East or whatever. But I think the guys from the previous era in Latin America, before the wars were around, look at Jaime Camacho in Panama, all the SF guys, the SEAL teams that all went and got, went to Panama and took out Manuel Noriega. And that actual indictment was done in Miami with the guys in Miami. I think Dick Gregory actually did the indictment on that one, All Day USA, back in the day. And he actually gave me pictures of the camera that was used to show the loading of the aircraft, in Colombia with dope. That was part of the evidence that actually went against the cartel in Colombia. And I got pictures of that. He gave it to me. Yeah, that was pretty cool because we had worked a bunch of Venezuela cases together. But that kind of changed after 2001. Everything was Middle East. Yeah. Right. So for him to come back, I think he was like, this is just a different feel. Same thing with, we're doing maritime training and stuff like that in SEAL teams on the north coast of Colombia and Santa Marta, and you're out on boats doing crazy stuff and stuff I won't talk about, but you're doing things that you see in movies, like all the time. Like my whole career, I was doing like stuff that you would put into a movie, and when people look at it, they're like, this guy's full of. But when you've done it like you have or other guys, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember this. Oh yeah, I could see that. I knew a guy that did that. Yeah. I mean, it's a great career. It's a great career.
And I had Jaime on here March of this year, episode 188, and he wrote a book that just got he won the fiction book of the year from this organization. And the book is really spooky, man.
Yeah. I bought the book. I haven't read it all yet.
It's excellent. It's excellent. Yeah. Talking about Sonoria and what's the other group, the evil side. I think Sonoria is evil, but this is even worse. Palemumbo, something like that.
That's is that the Haitian one? The Haitian?
Yeah.
It's scary stuff.
Oh, I told him when I had him on the show here, I had to put the book down a couple of times and walk away, just thinking, oh my gosh, I just got, feeling creepy here. So after Venezuela, and then you do the CIA, what's your next stop?
So I was going to stay in Bogota, but that didn't happen. The whole scandal broke with all the guys in the Secret Service thing. Yeah. So Jay was going to make me ARD in place right there, and that was all set, and that all went away. In fact, I met Jay at a park when he goes, dude, sorry, but the rabbi's out, bro. I'm like, So I said, let me call Miami, because I had done so much with Miami, and they pulled me in Group 9, put me in Group 9, 959 group. Well, it wasn't technically, but it was 959, and I had no clue what we were going to do. The senior guys, a couple of young guys, but most of them were senior guys like John Shine. You might know John Shine. He was there forever. He's retired now. Larry Bell, some other guys that were jungle groups in Colombia and things like that, former Green Beret, guys like that. And we killed it. I mean, one case that we worked a cartel out of Ecuador, which is an emerging source country, for cocaine, a huge transit and source. And then we worked a Colombian cartel as well. And that merged, and we seized over 60 metric tons in about a year and a half.
60
metric tons in a year and a half. Wow. We were picking up the dope from the Coast Guard. In fact, I think I sent you a picture of me sitting on, that was 27 tons. That was 27 tons. And we were killing it. And not only were we killing it, but we were doing judicialized intercepts along with, the stuff that was going on in Colombia. That all, obviously, it's all in the news with the Blackberries and all that stuff. It all eventually came out in the press. And then technology started changing, and you have WhatsApp, you have all this other stuff, and T3s are very difficult to kind of maintain a consistent, compared to what we did back in the day. It was much more steady. You could just work wires, and that kind of changed. But we would go and we would interview all the boat crew members, every freaking one of them, hundreds of them, Steve. We would go wherever they were. We had photo lineups. We had everything. Now, 90% of these guys on the boats didn't know anyone, but that 10% that did, and they would talk. Like, we had all the pizza and soda. They'd show up, come off the plane. I'd come in with like 50 pizzas and literally feed these guys. They were like, oh my God, you're treating us so nice. Well, of course we have to take care of you. And then read them their rights, and they were like, yeah, I'll talk to you. Who is it? Oh, that's Jim Bob from whatever in Ecuador. He's actually the boss. Really? Okay. And then we just put it all together. These guys were fantastic. All the guys like Ed Reed and all these other guys, Jeremy, I won't say their last names for everyone, but Glenn, they all put together this case from two sides, from Ecuador and Colombia, working as a team, and just knocked it out of the park. And what kills me is they should have got the Administrator's Award. $20 million in cash seized, 60 metric tons of coke, 120 arrests, Thousands of T3s. They were beat out. They were beat out by a 10-pound meth case in like Tennessee for the Minister's Award.
What?
Yeah. Politics, man.
Yes,
Politics,
sir, brother.
man. So they didn't care. They ended up getting the Vice President Maritime Award anyway. We all went to the White House. They weren't doing it for that, but we had such a good time. That was like the last real feel of the old DEA that I had. And these guys, I told them during it too, because at this point I had seen a lot. When you're getting toward, 15, 16, 17 years on you, and you've been all over the place, you feel when something's special. And I told them, enjoy this, guys, because you're not going to see it again. Yep. This does not happen. This kind of case does not happen very often.
Yeah. It is. But man, it's a blast while it's going on.
Yeah.
So now you eventually had to go to Washington.
Yeah. Yeah.
What'd you do up there? How long were you there, and what'd you do?
I went up there. I was deputy in FO, financial ops. They called it something else, but we all know it as FO, right? Financial operations. And I was a deputy there. I was there for probably 3 months, and all of a sudden, Paul Knierim comes downstairs one day, and Paul Knierim walks over to the chief, and he's like, shuts the door, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what that's about.
Who's in trouble now?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, who's in trouble? Paul Knierim was the deputy chief of ops, but he ran domestic and foreign. It was all one big pot. And when I say he ran it, The chief of operations really is not running that stuff, right?
Right. They're the figurehead.
Yeah. It's the deputy chief of ops. He's running all the details. And if you know Paul is like a photographic memory, and he could just blah, 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 blah. He just remembers everything. He's always chewing. He used to chew tobacco back then. I don't know if he does now. So he's always chewing. And 5 a.m. till 10 p.m, I was working. Like, he called me up to be his horse holder. So I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I can't say no. You know? So I'm up there with him for about 6 months or so, 6-7 months. And an opportunity came in LA. And I really wanted, to be honest with you, I wanted to go back to Miami. Jaime Camacho had been my associate SAC when I was in Group 9. And Jaime was the best. Jaime, he'd done it all.
He's a gentleman. He's a gentleman.
Yeah, smart as hell. Just, he'd done the undercover. He'd done the overseas. I think it was the president of Panama or Costa Rica called him and said, hey, we need help catching some HVT back in the day. Yeah. And Jaime's like solid guy, one of the best agents out there, right?
Yep.
And so I wanted to come back and work for him, but the problem was they had a big scandal brewing in Miami at that time with some agents. I'll leave it there. And I didn't want to like be around that. I didn't want to be like, I just didn't want to be around it. And so I was told, hey, a guy in LA would like to have you out there. So why don't you go to LA? You'll be there a couple of years and get out. So I was like, LA, left coast. I just didn't know if I wanted to do it, but I had never worked the West Coast. So I said, I've been Chicago, Miami, St. Louis division, overseas. I get to go to LA. I've been to DC. I get to do, only thing I'm missing is like Houston and New York. Maybe I'll hit them all before I'm all done, right? So I go to LA, and I'm an ASAC. So times have changed. The wire room was empty. LA used to be, the wire room was freaking huge.
Oh yeah.
They had 100 contractors or more, T3s going up, wiretaps everywhere. You walk in there now, there's like 4 or 5 contractors sitting around. I mean, because technology changed, everything changed. It wasn't the same.
Encryption
and in the first year as a new ASAC, guess what you're going to be doing? One of your groups.
Not admin.
Admin. I'm like, admin? I freaking hate admin. Right? And I remember the admin, civilian admin, been there her whole career. And I was like, I was like, hey, you're going to have a meeting in my office. Can you come to my office? She goes, you can come to my office. I'm like, seriously? I go, no, you can come to my office. No. You come to my office. And I had to, I had to actually have a talk with her and be like, yeah, I don't know how this works for you, but if I'm having a meeting and I ask you to come, I'm not ordering you, but I'm like, hey, I'm having a meeting. Come to my office around 10. Bring so and so and so and so. We're going to discuss. You don't say no. You come to my. That's not how this works, right? So that's kind of sets a tone for like, I know I'm not from LA, right? If you're not from Chicago, don't go to Chicago. Like if you're not from LA, don't go to LA. But I had really, really good guys in LA. I did. I'll tell you a great story. And this is all about like mentoring in the right way for the right people. And I'm far from the perfect boss by any means, right? But I did this one right, I think, because the kid still calls me to this day. They were doing an undercover deal. Super sharp kid, super sharp lawyer. The guy's aces, right? But he wasn't a cop before, and he's newer with DEA. He's got, I don't know, maybe 3 years at that time, 4 years at that time. He's in doing a deal, and they want to see the money, and he's like, "Oh, I have it. I have it right here. I'll just show you in a minute, whatever." So the GS
never front the money.
The GS is hearing this, and he's like, "Ah!" So he tells everyone, like, dude, get ready. We might have to go in. Look at Foss. Look what happened to Foss in Arizona. Yeah. Agent Foss. He was shot and killed, undercover deal. They lured him in. They thought they had the money. They shot him. In fact, he went for his gun. They shot him because when you get in a shootout like that, you're going to aim centric points of threat. Right. And they actually shot his finger off, his trigger finger, before they killed him. So... Wow. The GS calls me. He goes, man, we had a major malfunction with this kid. I go, what happened? He told me. I said, he goes, can you come down and talk to him in the bay, down in the group? I said, no. You're going to bring him up to the training room in front of the wall of honor, and you're going to meet me there in 5 minutes. The kid had been saying, I didn't really do anything wrong. It was a call I made as a UC, blah, 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 blah. So he came up, and I told him, I said, you know what? I knew this guy. I said, and I know you. Am I going to see your face up there next? Because what you did will get you killed. And this guy that's telling that, you should be thanking him for telling you that, because he knows what he's doing. He's been doing this 20, 30 years, and we know what we're doing, and we're going to teach you how to do it so you can survive, and you can tell the next guy how to do it so he can live too. And he just kind of looked at me. And he was like, kind of defiant still, a little defiant, a little bit. I think he knew, like, I'm not going to tell the ASAC, he's not going to do that. Kid's not like that anyway. Great kid. The next day he comes in my office and knock, knock, knock. He goes, hey, I screwed up. Thanks for talking to me. Because he had a brand new kid, his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I still get calls. Important? Still get calls from him to this day. So I know I did the right thing on that one. Who wouldn't? But as an ASAC, it really wasn't my job to go down in the weeds with it. And I hear these guys sometimes that, treetops and all this other crap language about not getting involved so you can't get an EEO or you can't get sued or you can't. And that's not what DEA was or should be.
No, that's part of the job. You accept the responsibility that goes along with the position if you accept the position.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
So with all the crazy stuff happening in LA, we were doing crypto cases there, working with LAPD homicide, because there were marketplaces for crypto that guys would go to, and they would show up to trade crypto for cash to avoid monitoring, and then they'd shoot and kill them and kidnap them and all that stuff. So we had that case with a LA guy, fantastic group supervisor, and agents that were working with him. We did international stuff with George Elliott's group, and we did another CJNG AG designate for all CJNG cases, because it was the biggest indictment, not like a 30 or 40 or 50 kilo case in Oklahoma or in Chicago. They had multiple tons on this guy with a lot of evidence. And so we were working the CJ&G cases. Yep. So that was underneath in one of my groups. So we were doing international, we're doing Mexico, we're doing, we're doing it all. And it was a good experience. And I hated freaking admin, which I only had to do it for like 8 months, and they took it away from me because I'd sucked at it. And I just really didn't want to do it. But I wasn't used to being like an admin guy. I wasn't used to being like, and as an ASAC, yeah, you're signing, I'm writing memos, EEOs are getting filed. It's like a new world. Like we had one guy, he was 57. He didn't want to retire. He filed an EEO, age discrimination. I never had an EEO till I went to LA. Never had an EEO. I'm like, why am I on this EEO? Well, because obviously you're prejudicial against old guys. I'm like, whatever. They're laughing, like, which they never go anywhere. But it's just the point. I was seeing the side of DEA that I didn't really want to see. Just a few years prior, I was seizing with my guys 60 metric tons of coke. I was doing operations with dead drops in Venezuela. I'm meeting informants in third-party countries after flying to country, different airlines to clean myself, to go into a new country, walk across the border so I wouldn't be flagged. That's what I loved, and that's what I was doing. And now I'm signing documents for a 103. It just was tough, right?
So is that when you decided enough's enough?
Yeah. I said, it's been a good run. Times are changing, and I was ready to do something different. So I retired the day I turned 50. And I rented a little place in Chinatown. I lived in Chinatown so I could walk to work because I commuted my whole career. Hours of commuting. I said, I'm going to walk. And I'm fighting homeless guys. I actually had guys going to rob me one time. I badge and gun. I'm in a suit. They're trailing me. Two homeless guys. And they're like, pull my badge out and pull my gun out like this. And they take off running. And they're like, oh my God, I keep walking. I go to the division. I'm like, really? So I'm in Chinatown. So I just gave away all my IKEA. It was like throwaway apartment. All the cleaning people in the building. I'm like, hey guys, you want TV? Want IKEA furniture? Take it. And they all came, cleaned out my apartment, dishes, silverware, everything, right?
Wow.
And I mailed some stuff to a place in South Florida where I was going to go. And I told my wife when I said we got done, I go, where do you want to go? We hadn't talked about it at all.
Yeah.
And she goes, I've never been to Montana. I said, all right. We got in the car and we drove to Montana. And we got in the Airbnb, and we stayed there for 3 months. And I slept for the first week, like literally. Like I was just like, God, I just fell asleep. And then after 3 weeks, only so much beer and barbecue I could do at this log home. We were snowed in. I started writing my memoir. Yeah. And my wife is like, I knew that wouldn't take long. 14 hours a day, I'm just typing. 14 hours a day, 300 and some pages later, I had a foundation for kind of what I wanted to do, memorialized some of this stuff in my mind. And that's, and then I got a little bored. A buddy of mine, the SWAT commander that had gone to the FBI, he was assistant chief at the Seminole Police. Seminole Indians owned Hard Rock International. So he said, hey, we need a lieutenant for Homeland Security within the police. And they do counterterrorism, executive protection. You want it? I'm like, yeah, sure. Jumped into that. I mean, I show up and like 3 weeks later, they're like, you're doing Miss Universe pageant. We have like 35 FBI guys coming. We got this, canines, we got that. We got all this security. So I put together this huge op for the 6-7 days or whatever of Miss Universe. Had a blast. Loved it. Started doing venue security. The governor was coming in, working with FDLE, doing all that stuff, bomb threats, CT stuff, because they have 9 properties throughout Florida. I'm all over the state. I'm loving it. I'm kind of back in the action a little bit. We're surveilling. I remember we would have like a fugitive show up at a hotel in Tampa or a hotel in Polk County or whatever, owned by Hard Rock Guitar Hotel. And I'd meet with the Viper team from Broward County Sheriffs, and they got these guys. They're all unmarked. lab, body armor, rifles, and they're going after these really bad dudes with warrants. I mean, homicide suspects. They come to the hotel and they'll get picked up. They'll get picked up on a surveillance camera somewhere, LPR hit, whatever it might be, and then we'll ID them and we'll work with them. And then, you'll have the helo or the plane. They'll take them away. We don't want to do anything in the hotel. We don't want to shoot out. And I'm out there in my vest, with a rifle, sitting, waiting for the guy to come out with the Viper unit. And I'm just like, man,
you're living your youth.
I feel like I'm 28 again, 26 again. I'm out here doing this stuff. So I did that for about a year. Then a buddy of mine from the agency said, hey, I need a global director for a team where we're doing all the specialized intel executive protection for Fortune 500 companies around the world. You interested? I'm like,
sure.
Put me in, baby. Yeah. So I'm in Europe. I'm in Latin America. I'm all over the United States. We're putting together all these operations with executive protection teams and investigations, intelligence analytics, all the stuff that we're doing. I did that for another year. And then I was pretty tired. I was kind of ragged out because I'm actually 55 and I'm like, Jesus, maybe I'm not 27 anymore.
Just wait, brother. Just wait.
It was getting me, right? So I had an opportunity, a good friend of mine, Chicago homicide detective. He goes, dude, got this great job with the state of Florida. And don't you have like 6 years almost with the state pension system? I'm like, yeah. He goes, dude, just go back and do a year and a couple months. You get a nice big check for a portion of your pension. So I looked at it. I went back and I was a detective for financial crimes. And I did that for about a year and a couple months. My partner, Scott, great partner, NYPD, third grade detective, retired. And we were just out getting scumbags that were fraudulently ripping people off on insurance claims, workers' compensation. The hurricanes would come through. We'd go look for people that were ripping off the public. And I did that for a year and a couple months. And then I pulled the plug. And now I'm consulting. I do speaking and things like that, and I'm not ready to hang it up fully by any means.
Oh, I'm with you, man. I'm considerably older than you. And, if you ask my wife, when's he going to retire? She'll tell you when he dies. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy the speaking thing, the other things that we're involved with. But we haven't talked. We mentioned your book a couple of times, Infiltrate America. And I definitely want to talk about that just a few minutes here. Infiltrate America, Blood Routes, and the Rise of Latin American Gangs. Wes here sent me a electronic copy of the book, so I was able to read it before we did his interview. And he keeps telling me there's a check in the mail, or a book in the mail. I'm sorry. And I'm sure it'll be here. I tell you what, our postal service here in Orlando is.
Yeah, I mailed it. I mailed it last week. So, I mean, I don't know how it arrives, if it's by ground or, I didn't put it in like a FedEx box, but it has to be around at some point. But I'll definitely get you,
who's your rabbi?
You have to, if you feel comfortable, you're going to have to wear it in one of the shows.
Absolutely. That's the shirts that I wear here on the podcast. This is the Southern California Gang Conference.
Okay.
And they put this one, I think it says DEA Narcos.
Yeah.
These are free shirts. I wear free t-shirts and free polo shirts.
I don't blame you.
But everybody, if you're interested in more information about the gangs, specifically Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and Barrio 18, Wes has done a great job putting all that information together. It's very informative. I was reading, and as I got to the end, I'm thinking this would be like a good primer for anybody that's interested in going to gang work. It's just to give a background of how the gang started, what their influences are, how they're being influenced by other countries, how they're taking over other countries. We always say we want to put the bad guys in jail, but that's turned out to be counterproductive because that gives them a bed to increase their influence and their power. It's just a really good book. You're seeing a picture of it here on the screen as we're talking about it. You can order that through Amazon. Can you order that on your website?
Yep. You can go infiltrateamerica.com and order it there as well, or Amazon.
Do you offer autographed copies, things like that people can
they could just message me and I can arrange it. Yep.
And what's that website again?
Infiltrateamerica.com.
Okay. I missed that completely because I'm looking at westabor.com.
Yeah, that's another one too. But that one is going to be more for some of the speaking engagements and more of the consulting work that I'm going to do.
Yeah, so you folks out there that you're looking for corporate speakers or keynote speakers for whatever, law enforcement, corporate events, colleges, universities, you just saw how well he speaks. I don't have to say a whole lot when Wes is talking because he's carrying us through his career, which that's what this show's supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be about Murph. It's supposed to be about the guests that I bring on here. You can find out more about Wes. You can find him on Instagram at Wesley M. Tabor, Facebook Wes Tabor, TikTok Wesley Tabor. I didn't see you on YouTube, except I did see a lot of interviews that you've done. I didn't realize you'd done all those interviews before you came on Game of Crimes. X, I couldn't find you on there, which I think I'm going to get off of that one too. LinkedIn, Wesley Tabor, again, his website, wesleytabor.com and infiltrateamerica.com. The book, one more time, Infiltrate America, Blood Routes and the Rise of Latin America Gangs. And that just came out June of this year, right?
Yeah, that just came out just over a month ago. Yep.
So if you're interested, take a look at it. I think, are they offered on Kindle?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So, or even audiobooks, but take a look at those books. And then you said, hopefully next year you'll have your quasi autobiography out.
Yeah. And it's going to detail, as cops, we like the cops and robbers kind of aspect of writing, but this is going to have a lot of the stories in it, but it's not going to be a cops and robbers book. It's going to be a book about prevailing in mindset and focus and how to overcome things in your life, such as what I overcame with paralysis. And the mindset and the importance of keeping that mindset, and it can do miracles. Because, after 2001, when I was paralyzed and pretty hopeless, just a few years later, I'm in the jungles doing missions out of helos, So miracles can happen, but sometimes you really have to work for it.
Absolutely. It just espouses the old saying, never give up. Don't quit. You folks, I wasn't going to bring this up, but I'm going to anyway now. If you are in a situation in your life where you feel hopeless, that you're suffering from depression and anxiety, we have a national telephone number in the United States, and it covers Canada and Mexico, 988. It's a national crisis intervention line. You don't have to go it alone. If you need somebody to talk to, don't think that there's nobody out there that wants to help you. Believe me, there's tons of people out there that want to help. All you have to do is dial 988. The person that answers the phone is probably not the person that's going to give you the help, but they're going to put you in touch with somebody that will. I love the fact, the attitude of never giving up, that just carries a lot of weight. And I'll continue to promote that 988 number here on the show as long as I've got this going. So before we sign off here, Wes, any last words of wisdom, maybe something for people that are looking to go into law enforcement? What do you think?
Yeah, I think, the resounding thing that I always try to say when I close out these types of podcasts or shows or whatever it might be is that law enforcement still is an honorable profession, despite what we might hear. There's a lot of lawyers out there trying to pick apart what cops do and how they're doing it. And there's a place for that in some sense, right? But when it becomes this kind of cathartic kind of, we're going to bash and destroy and demean police officers, don't feed into that, because people still love and honor the profession. They honor all of these professions. And no matter what profession you go in, no matter what you do, these stories are takeaways from law enforcement perspective. But whether you're a teacher, a Sunday school teacher, whether you're working as a garbage man, whether you're out there swinging a hammer, no matter a lifeguard, whatever it might be, we're all part of what makes America, America. We're all doing our part to it. So, the stories of resiliency are not just exclusive to cops, and the stories of success are not just about cops, but when you could take away certain things of what we deal with, what first responders deal with, it gives you that appreciation. And we're doing it for you, the public. We're doing it to protect the ideals and the foundations of what this country is. And it's extremely important that people understand we're not out here to do harm. There are bad actors in every profession. I don't care what it is. But wholeheartedly, men and women right now are risking their lives around the world at dark times in the evening, early hours of the day, and we don't know what they're doing. But I'm telling you right now, they're doing it for you. And we need to be appreciative to them, because it's not just police officers. It's not just soldiers. It's not just teachers and nurses and doctors. It's all of us, and we're all in this together. And when we, in an age where we have political discourse and we have this dissension among us, and we're looking to blame each other, we have to overcome this, and we have to start bringing it together. And I think that's the biggest thing I like to preach, because I didn't spend 30 some years of my life, and Murph didn't spend 30 some years of his life to see us break apart because of some political discourse. We need to come together as a country and be whole again.
Amen, brother. I'm with you 100% on that. So everybody, thank you, Wes. Thank you for the exciting stories, man. I get goosebumps listening to you talk, and I had done a lot of research on you and read your book, the first book, Infiltrate America, and still get excited. You know, it just brings back so many good memories. We've got a lot of common or friends in common. So thank you for coming and sharing your story, the story about the paralysis and how you overcame that. It's just very inspirational and motivational. So thank the good man upstairs for taking care of you. And for our listeners, thank you folks for continuing to come back every week. Do me a favor, if you're not watching this on YouTube and you haven't checked out YouTube yet, go over and in that search bar at the top, type in Game of Crimes Podcast, hit the subscribe button, watch some episodes, hit the like button, and send me your comments. All right. We're at the end here. I usually say I don't know why you folks come back, but you do. And I do know why. Because you enjoy playing the biggest, the baddest, the most dangerous game of all. And that's the Game of Crimes. God bless you all. We'll see you next week. Wes, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you.